Welcome back, career students. This is Mr. Clem, and we are starting our compensation, benefits, and insurance unit. As we look at where we've been so far in class, we started out with our interests and our aptitudes, our personalities with the ASVAB, some MCIS research, the Keirsey temperament sorter, to kind of get an idea of who we are and what are we about. We then started doing some career research on potential careers that interest us. We either wrote a paper or did an infographic. Sometime in between there, we looked at what kind of training do we need to make that job a reality. Can I get that job right out of high school? Do I need 3 months of training post high school? Do I need 2 years and get an AA degree? Do I need 4 years and a bachelor's degree? Do I need more than that? Right. So, what kind of training do I need post high school to make this a reality? We looked at our network and how do we find jobs. We applied for jobs and then we interviewed for a job, right? And we're now game on. We got a job. So let's start talking about how do we make money. So, how does your employer determine how you get paid? How does your employer determine when you get paid? And we would ask you, how many you have a job, how many you get paid every week, how many you get paid, other times. And as we look at it, you got a few ideas we want to cover. So first off, are you an hourly person, right? You put in 5 hours, you get paid for every single hour you work. A lot of your entry level summer type jobs, a lot of jobs that you guys as students would have would be hourly jobs. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Another way you would potentially earn money is, are you a salaried employee? Now, Mr. Clem has two jobs right now. He works at Albion Ridges Golf Course. And in the summer, I will show up on the weekends and I'll punch in and I'll go to the computer and I'll type in my employee code and it starts the clock rolling, right? And I get paid whatever, 10, 12, 13 bucks an hour to mow greens, change pins, move carts, whatever they need me to do. I work for a couple, 2, 3, 4 hours on a Saturday, Sunday, and then I go punch back out. Every single hour I work, I get paid that 10, 11, 12, 13 bucks an hour for every hour. I look at myself right now as a teacher, and I would consider myself a salaried employee. Right now, I'm recording this video on a Sunday, and the school doesn't care what day I'm recording this. They don't care if I'm in on a Sunday. They don't care if I'm staying late at night. They say, Mr. Clem, we're going to pay you 60,000 bucks a year to be a business teacher. And however long it takes you to get your job done is however long it takes you to get your job done. Now they have a minimum amount that I have to be in front of you guys, right? I got to punch in at 7:45, or at least I need to, or AM, sorry, 7:45 a.m. I need to be here at school at 7:45, and I can leave at 3:45. Right? I got to be here for those 8 hours. That's my minimum. But if I stay till 4, 5, 6 o'clock working on stuff, they're not going to pay me any additional money for that. If I take on additional roles like coaching wrestling, they'll pay me for that. But as far as my teaching job goes, they don't care if I'm grading stuff on a Saturday, Sunday. They don't care that I'm recording this video on a Sunday afternoon. Doesn't matter to them. School's not giving me more money. Okay? Those are a vast majority of what most of us are going to do in our working life. You're either going to get paid every hour or you're going to get paid a set amount of money to do a job. There are other ways to earn money. And one of them here is something called a commission. And you'll see this a lot for people that sell things. I haven't necessarily done it myself, but I know Mr. Schlegel has, where we're both licensed to sell life insurance. And if I was to convince one of your parents to buy a life insurance policy through me, I will get a percentage of that sale. Right? Or if I am, selling cars, right? And whether that is I get $500 for getting you to buy a car, or I get a percentage of the price of the car. That's the idea of a commission employee. You'll see a lot of real estate people. They will get, 3, 4, 5, 6% of the value of the home. And they're going to want to sell you the right home. But obviously, if they're selling you a bigger home, that's a bigger check in their pocket. So a different way to earn money is a commission. And again, if you make the sale, you get the money. If you don't make the sale, you won't get the money. You'll see some businesses that'll combine the salary piece and the commission piece. And we'll do some homework on that idea. Maybe I'm going to pay you a base salary of $2,000 a month, right? I'm going to want you to live on that. And if you work hard and you sell more, whatever it is I'm trying to get you to sell, I'll cut you a deal on some of that, maybe all of that. Maybe I'll ask you to sell a certain number of these things to cover your $2,000 salary, and anything above and beyond a certain number or dollar value, then I'll cut you in and give you a percentage of what you sell. Right? That's different than a bonus. Right? A bonus is normally a one-time payment, usually about the time your year ends or when you get a performance review, and there were targets that you were supposed to meet, whether you individually were supposed to meet them, whether your whole company was supposed to meet them. And whatever that is, how efficient you are, how much you sold, how much profit the company made. And if you met certain qualifications, certain requirements, you may get a one-time payment called a bonus. Not every company offers bonuses. And even if they offer bonuses, if you don't meet the criteria, then you may not get that money. Right? Next up, we have something called a contract employee and a temp employee, temporary employee. These are similar, not identical. When I first started working at Prudential Life Insurance, way back when, I was a temporary employee. Robert Half and Associates was the name of the company, and they hired about 300 people. And Prudential didn't know or didn't want to or couldn't afford, whichever, to go hire 300 new people when they hired us back in 1996. They went to Robert Half and Associates and said, Robert Half, you go find me people that have accounting or number crunching background and bring them in and you hire them. And Robert Half would pay us, I don't remember, I'll just make the number up. Let's say they pay us $18 an hour to work for them. Now, Prudential probably had to pay Robert Half $20 an hour because Robert Half is the one that went out and found us and did the hiring process and all of that. So that's how Robert Half made their money. But we were a temporary employee, meaning we were going to be there for 6 months, a year, 3 months, right? Whatever the time frame was. From a company standpoint, they would potentially like that idea because now they're not worried about paying benefits. They're not worried about hiring you and then letting you go. They're hiring you for a set specific amount of time. And you may eventually turn into a permanent employee, or they may say, you know what, we only need you for X amount of time. Maybe I would go work with Daryl Turning as an accountant and say, you know what, I'll come help you out in tax season. So I would be a temporary employee. He's not going to maybe pay me benefits. He says, Clem, I expect you to show up February 1, and I expect you to work until the end of April, even though we know that tax deadline is April 15th. But I'm going to hire you for that chunk of time. I'm going to pay you a set, whatever, a salary or an hourly wage. But the expectation out of both the employer and the employee, this is not a forever thing. This is a, I only need you for a chunk of time thing. How does that differ from a contract employee? if you hear of things like independent contractors, you may have, like, say, a builder that doesn't do plumbing, or the builder doesn't do the electricity, or the plumber doesn't do, or the Blue Dorn builders, maybe they don't do the masonry work, right? Like the stone work. They may contract with Headland Plumbing or contract with ARA, or they may contract with Brandel Electric and say, here, we're going to pay you to do a job. That job may be a week, that job may be 6 months. That job may be a year and a half. Maybe B&P Drywall gets paid to go build a Walmart somewhere, right? And that could be a multiple year kind of a thing until the job's done. And when the job's done, you'll get paid. Now, some of these contract employees, you'll probably get paid along the way, but different from getting hired at DC, assuming I'm going to be teaching until I decide to leave, or Albion Ridges Golf Course, where I'm going to be there until I say, oh, I don't want to be here anymore. As I look at getting paid in a different light, how often are you getting paid, right? This was how are you getting paid, right? Hourly, salary, contract, temp, commission, bonus. Here's when are you getting paid. Are you going to be collecting a paycheck or getting an automatic deposit in your on your debit card or your online account? Are you going to get paid every week? Are you going to get paid every 2 weeks? When I worked at Prudential, I was a bi-weekly employee. That's different than twice a month. Twice a month, you get paid the first or the last day of the month in the middle of the month, right? Well, 12 months in a year, you're going to get a total of 24 paychecks. As opposed to bi-weekly, meaning literally every 2 weeks, whether it be a Monday or a Friday, usually it's a Friday. Every 2 weeks on a Friday, well, there's 52 weeks in a year. Divide that by 2 bi-weekly, you're going to get 26 paychecks. When I worked at Prudential, we were bi-weekly, meaning usually it was either November or December, and usually July or August. That 1 month or those 2 months, I would get 3 paychecks as opposed to 2. Here, working at the school, I get paid twice a month. Right? So the 1st of the month, the 15th of the month, I get a paycheck, right? 24 versus 26, that matters. If you are a commission-based employee, if you get old, when you get old, you start collecting things like Social Security, or maybe you work a job that pays a pension, you may get a check once a month, right? And plus or minus, right? You get a bigger pile of money right away, but now you got to manage it for the next 28, 29, 30, 31 days. As opposed to, every 14 days you're going to get a paycheck, or, every 15 days here. And again, we talk about, when we're getting paid. Contract employees, you may get that in stages. You may get that when the whole job is done. Right? So how do you get paid? How do you earn your money? And when do you get paid? So as we move on to earnings, we take a look at, here's a scenario. Clem was chatting with some people this weekend, and someone offered him a different job. And they said, Clem, this new job offer is $32 an hour. And Clem goes back and logs on to Smarter and figures out that he's making $59,737 a year. Which one's a better deal? Right? Now, if we look at it from just a straight math perspective, these are not apples to apples. We got to find a way to compare these two and make them apples to apples. We either got to bump the $32 an hour job up to a yearly number, or we got to take the yearly number and bump it back to an hourly number. So the keys to that are the numbers 40 and 52, right? 40 hours in a work week, 52 weeks in a year. Convert the hourly job by multiplying the first hourly rate of pay by 40 hours in a work week, and then multiply it by 52 weeks in the year. And again, you're going to get a ballpark idea of what that job makes. So my 32 times 40 times 52, That new job opportunity is going to pay me $66,560 a year. Or do the opposite. Take your annual salary job, divide that by 52 weeks in a year, divide that by 40. That job paid me $28.72 an hour. So, talking strictly math, just straight numbers, the new job, the $32 an hour job, pays me better. But what assumptions am I making? And here's where I'd let you guys sit and talk and then bring you back. Some of the assumptions I'm making are, am I working 40 hours a work week? Am I working 52 weeks a year, right? Is this job at Albion Ridges Golf Course, and they're going to pay me $32 an hour to manage the clubhouse, and that's fine when I open things up in April and I shut it down in late October. Well, but what about November, December, January, and February? Well, we're paying you $32 an hour for all the hours you're there for 8 months out of the year. Okay, well, I need to know that before I start doing my math, right? I assumed it's 40 hours a work week, all 52 weeks a year. So things that you assume, but you got to ask that question as you start looking at comparing apples to apples. Now, what are some other things that you're going to want to look at? Benefits, paid time off, health insurance, right? Which job is going to provide you better benefits? Which job is going to offer more in paid time off, PTO? Which one maybe covers more of your health insurance, has a better health insurance plan? Some of the things we'll talk about later. And you'll also look at how long do you work? What are your hours, right? Maybe this $32 an hour job is working a second shift. Maybe it's working a third shift. Second shift means I come in at noon and I work till midnight. Or maybe I come in at 10 p.m. and I work till 6 a.m. Well, that's maybe not as desirable for everybody, right? So while the numbers tell you that it's going to be a better paying job, the actual job may not be a better job, may not be what I want. So it's more than just the numbers, but at least start with the numbers to see if that opportunity is a better opportunity. Next concept we're going to cover here is something called overtime. And we ask the question, who is eligible for overtime? What is it? How is it calculated? A lot of you who work hourly jobs are eligible for overtime. People who work salaried jobs, they're not eligible for overtime. So almost always it is the hourly workers who are eligible to make overtime. And overtime is 1.5 times your regular rate of pay if you work more than 40 hours in a given work week. So in our example here, if I'm making $10 an hour, that's my job working at the golf course. If I work hour 1 through hour 40, I'm earning $10 per hour for every hour I work, anywhere from $10 to $400. If there happens to be a work week where I'm putting in 45 hours, right? All of those overtime hours are going to be earning $15 an hour. Now, it's not all 45 hours, right? The first 40 hours, I was earning $10 an hour. It's only the hours above and beyond 40 where I get this additional bump, right? This addition, this 1.5 times my regular rate of pay. So here's an example. Not quite exactly $10 an hour, but this is a while ago. It's probably 4 or 5 years ago. I was making $9.25 at the golf course mowing lawn. Week 1, I worked 37 hours. Week 2, I worked 46. Right? How much did I earn? Go ahead and hit pause on the video, get out your notebook, and go ahead and do this math. How are we going to break apart and figure out what I earned from week 1 and week 2, right? They're going to pay me every 2 weeks. So I need these 2 sets of hours figuring out at $9.25 an hour, what did I earn? All right, welcome back, students. As we take a look at the answer to our problem, my first 37 hours from week 1 was earning $9.25 an hour. And when I do that math, that comes out to be $342.25. My additional chunk of time, my 46 hours, is going to be broken into 2 pieces. The $9.25 an hour for the first 40 hours. Now, the additional hours above and beyond 40, because again, state law says if you worked more than 40 in a work week, they have to pay you overtime for the amount of hours above and beyond 40. They can't take some of these hours and go throw it in here and say, oh yeah, we're not going to pay you all of your overtime. We're going to make you whole here. We're going to bump this up to 40. No, that's not accurate. I worked 46 hours this work week. I get 6 hours of overtime. So that $9.25 an hour, I need to increase that by 50% or multiply it by 1.5. And that math actually pans out to be $13.88 an hour. Right? So these additional 6 hours are going to be earning $13.88 an hour. So I earned a little bit more money. Right, $370 for the regular earnings, $83.25 for the overtime earnings, or a total of $453.25. Add my week 1 money to my week 2 money, and in theory, I was supposed to earn $795.50. Now that's what I earned. It's not necessarily what I took home. When we get to another video, we'll start talking about taxes and how some of that comes out. So here we're continuing with some of our other ideas. Again, defining commission. It is either a percentage or an amount based on achieving a certain benchmark. You have some control to that. Obviously, you can't make people show up and buy the car, but the harder you work to get someone to buy a car or buy insurance or sell real estate or whatever it is you're trying to sell, right? The harder you work, the more chance you have to make more money because you're either making a set dollar amount per sale or you're making a certain percentage per sale. We compare and contrast that with a bonus. Again, usually that's a one-time payment as determined by your boss or the management team. You have a little bit less say in the bonus because they set the target, and if you meet it, then usually the bonus will happen. Or if it's a whole group or a team or a company-wide bonus, right? Everybody's got to work at this pace. Well, you can't necessarily control all of your coworkers. But if you meet certain criteria, there's a one-time chunk of money that you could potentially earn. So here's a math example dealing with that. Let's say you earn a base salary of $3,000 a month, and you're going to earn a 5% commission for every sales dollar that is in excess of $250, right? They're going to give you $3,000 a month, and the expectation is you're selling $250,000 worth of whatever. You're selling a house or you're selling insurance, right? $250 on cars, and maybe that's reasonable. Maybe that's like, at this day and age, 5 or 6 cars, but whatever it is, your company says, we'll pay you this set dollar amount, but if you can sell more than this amount of money worth of product, whatever that product is, we're going to cut you in on the deal. We're going to give you 5% of the amount that is above this minimum, right? You don't get anything from $1 to $250,000 in this example, but anything above $250, we're going to give you 5%. So as we look at the answer to that math, you're getting your $3,000 in salary, right? No matter what you do. You sell nothing, you sell a ton of stuff. In this example, the commission is on anything above the minimum. So how much more did you sell than the minimum? Well, this example, I sold $25,000 more. Right? $275 is what I actually sold. $250 was the minimum to qualify for the commission. I've got $25,000 worth of sales that I'm going to get 5% of. So my base is what it's often called, my $3,000 base plus my commission. My earnings this pay period is $4,250. We'll go ahead and stop here and we'll transition to some benefits along with some taxes.